Entrepreneur, philanthropist, and civic leader, CC Yin has a story to tell. From his beginnings in China and Taiwan to making his fortune in America, CC has a long track record of building up and giving back. He joins us today to share with us his uniquely American journey. So CC, at this point in your life, share with us, what is your earliest memory of the childhood that started out in China?
Well, Scott, you talk about American dream, American journey. It's like all the immigrants before me and others. But back to my home country, much like many immigrants too, the background, when our own country was in trouble for the different reasons. China too, as you all know, last 200 years. I was born World War II and lost my mother at 6 months old. So I grew up with my grandpa in the farm, very rural, backwards, and no police, no security. We don't wear shoes. Most time, little kids like me don't wear pants. We were just working in the farm and just surviving. Very peaceful though, beautiful. However, the war came, and after the war, I went to the city for school. I wasn't very good in school, and I was the bottom of the class. And then when after Civil War comes, because you want a country want to come back, you have different part of the people, of course, try to do the job. So the communists came that my father worked for Kuomintang, so they fled to Ireland. I went with them, where I went to high school, colleges, very poor that time. Taiwan was not economically developed. And so out on the street most time, looking for a place to eat, sleep. My sisters brought me up, 3 older sisters. They were also very poor. So that's how was it. After college, I couldn't find a job, like most of immigrants from that time from Taiwan. So we all went to foreign countries. The first one we want to go was America, because America, after World War II, is like a god. We feel that not just a gold mine, it's just like heaven. We gotta go there, don't know what to do, and didn't speak language, didn't know the lesson, but we didn't have a hope, basically, as a student. So we all came. I didn't have money, so I borrowed $100, paid for a small boat, and also the so-called illegal print of textbooks in the broken suitcase. Nothing in the suitcase except an illegal printed textbook. So that's how I came to Los Angeles in 1965, age 27. Didn't know anybody, didn't speak language, no money. I only about $20 left. I got on the street in Los Angeles. That's how I started.
Take us back to that moment when you were on the streets of Los Angeles for the first time. Make your first steps in, you're looking around. What are you feeling back then?
Well, that was my second day, actually. I got out of the boat. I had a ride from a stranger. He said, "Where are you going?" I said, "I don't know." So he took me to his little corners. I sleep at night on his floor. Next day, I went on the bus. Took it to the lot. They told me your restaurant, you can find dishwasher, busboys. I didn't speak language, so I took a bus. But it took me 2 hours transfer many times because I didn't speak language. And finally, at 12 o'clock, I was on the street of Los Angeles. I don't know how to say the words right, but big street with all the restaurants. Of course, I didn't know which restaurant because back in Taiwan, China, we can see and smell food on the restaurant. Now here's not all inside. They didn't know. Anyway, so took me 6 hours, Los Angeles, from lunchtime to 6 o'clock at night to the end of the street. I learned how to say my name, what they're looking for. And I come back another 6 hours, midnight, across the street where I started. This place was, light was still on. It's called the Islander. It's still there, the big Polynesian restaurant. I knock on the door. The young man opened the door. It happened to be a man who speaks Mandarin. He was the UCLA graduate student in charge of night shift, closer. He will come in. I ate the best food in my life that midnight, left over. Oh man. So I said, whoa, this is America. Get a lot of food. You know, they opened the door for him. I said, great. The guy said, I know what you're looking for. Come inside. See my Jewish owner. Everybody was Chinese. The cooks, everybody is Polynesian, you know, fancy, you know. So anyway, the guy asked me, he said, okay, you are experienced. What's your name? I said, CC Yin. He said, no, American name. I couldn't figure out what's the difference between American name or Chinese name. So by that time, I remember when Johnson and Kennedy was elected, was newspaper in Taiwan in Chinese. I said, that must be American name. I translated back. I said, James Johnson, right? I can't say Kennedy because we don't have an N sound. I said Johnson. So how to spell? I spell J-A-M-S-O, and I said J-M-S-O, and oh, that's American name. I said, did you have experience? I said, yeah. Because all I learned about is smiling and yeah. So I said, yeah. Where is it? I put out a paper in my pocket. I said, here. Oh, New York, old Shanghai. I know that place. It's Jewish, you know, from Shanghai, from New York. You're all Jewish from New York, right? I know that place. No, I didn't have experience. It's so sailor on the boat gave me a piece of paper when I was so sick on the boat. He said, if you couldn't find a job, go to see my friend in New York. He said, I showed that up. So I got my first job as a dishwasher and a boss boy.
Wow.
I was very.
Wow. So, you know, it sounds like that, you know, hospitality and food service, that's been with you a long time. You're known for your work with McDonald's, but that started way earlier than that. I'm curious, what lessons did you learn back at that first job that carried with you in building out this massive empire of McDonald's franchises?
Well, that was great that happened to me because I thought that, you know, people are so open to the, you know, strangers. Like I was a total stranger, didn't speak language, and people are want to help me. Besides the neat work, of course, but I was so excited about it. I said, "Whoa!" So I saved all the leftover chicken and the rib bone because they cut them corners, drop in the garbage. I saved them. I took it home, froze them, and I had a great food forever. I never had chicken and the rib in my life like that. So I was in the heavens, and then so I learned a lot from there. And after that, I made enough money to take a bus to Seattle, University of Washington. I was supposed to go to there. I worked illegally. I was supposed not to work. I worked illegally for about, let's see, September to springtime, to about 6 months. I saved enough money to take a bus to Seattle, join my sister in college. That's how, but I still work at nighttime, weekends, do dishwasher, busboy. I become expert. No, I become.
And when you ended up becoming, you were an engineer, correct, by training?
Yes, I was engineer.
Okay.
Yes.
And so you spent time in the hospitality, entertainment, restaurant industry. You became an engineer and you worked on massive projects. How did you end up getting involved with McDonald's in the first place?
I like most immigrants, worked and support school and build family, very much the same typical. I was happy to meet my wife, who is much smarter and wiser, so taught me, guided me a lot. I'm a farmer basically, and secondly, engineers more mechanical, build stuff. We don't build people. I don't. So, but I always liked people. When I grew up, I was born in my genes. I enjoyed very much. And after I graduated, I went to work for a few companies, and I want to come to San Francisco because the culture and the future grows. So I moved from Seattle to San Francisco, and worked for Battle Corporation, Floor Corporation, done national, international company. And I 20 years, I become chief engineer on the project, a structural engineer. And all of a sudden, I was laid off. I didn't know why. At that time, we didn't know. No, we didn't know why. Just gone, bye-bye. I was gone. Then I found that I have 3 daughters going to high school, college. My wife was a social worker still. And all of a sudden, I found I was on the street. I didn't understand why, So I followed my wife, who had part-time, had this social worker, do the cell called the cell, what do you call that? Multi-level sales.
Direct sales.
She sold direct sales, sold the cosmetics and jewelries. As a man engineer, I never understand that, So I was helping her carry bags, set up table, deliver product. That's how I did it for about a year. And I learned a lot about it, how to communicate, how to do what they mean, what customers want. I learned a lot about this building team. I didn't understand the multi-level, not to make money, it's to build teams. So I was good. I was naturally good because I grew up in the farm. I grew up on the street in Taiwan. I grew up here in the restaurant with everybody, not my own kind of people. So I enjoyed that actually. So I could recruit a lot of people. I learned, but I found out I could not last very long. So I was looking for a restaurant. I said, I was a dishwasher busboy. I feel good. And maybe I start a restaurant. So I was looking around, couldn't find one. I didn't have money either. And one day, after direct sales, there was a man told me, CC, there's a McDonald's for sale in Oakland. I didn't know the difference between Oakland, San Francisco, Hillsborough, or Sacramento. I didn't know the difference at all. I said, well, good. I have no money, but I can sell the real estate. What happened when you come from a poverty lifetime country like our China at that time, the security is so important to us. So during the engineer time, 20 years, we save all the money. I work weekend, evenings, to what? To rent down properties in San Mateo, that side where I work, and fix them up, and rent them up. I want to have, so by 15 years, we were able to, on the side, to have, I had this 80 units apartment and a few houses, duplexes. I said, well, I can sell them. So this guy, the guy who sold McDonald's in Oakland happened to be past James Jackson, the past police chief, because it was so tough, McDonald's recruited him. But he went bankrupt in 5 years. That's what happened. So the guy told me, CC, how can you do this? You have no money. You don't know how to speak English because you all do engineering. You know how that works. We have no social skill. So I said, I don't know. I just want to do it. Give me a chance. So he took me to the court. Next day, he told the judge, said, Judge, Your Honor, I have a buyer. Okay, this Mr. Yin. And next to us, there were 4 gentlemen, 3 white, 1 black young man. He was like 20, 30 some years old, by name Eddie Honesty. Eddie Honesty stood up and said, Your Honor, we object as McDonald's. Mr. Yin is not qualified as a franchisee for all the 10 different reasons. The judge told this true story. McDonald's said, hey, your purpose is want a good franchisee. But this person, this young man is from different culture, different country. You can't read them. You can't tell his language. He doesn't speak good English. He's not good in people. He doesn't have a cash, all that stuff, no experience, no leadership skills. Yeah, I said, he wanted to say, I want you to put Mr. Yin into your program, and you can prove to me he's not good or he's good. That's how McDonald's said, okay, took me in the program, to have a program, And I was there in the program, yes. That's how it happened.
So you started there and you built this empire of over 20, right? Franchises, correct?
Yeah, over 20, my family and my daughter together have about 31, and it was 20 years ago before I changed my life purpose to give back to America. Yeah, right.
And that's what I want to ask you about is the change in your life purpose. You embody this, a unique but very American success story. Okay, and then you and your wife came together and founded this group, APAPA, API Public Affairs, to address an issue that you all saw dealing with the AAPI community. Tell us what it was that you saw and inspired you and your wife, Regina, to start APAPA. And what is it? And what is it?
Yeah, Scott, the inspiration comes from my entire experience come to America since I landed in Los Angeles, seriously. Every part of it. Although that my termination was mystery to me. Later I found it out was glass ceiling in major corporations. This happened to our major corporations and government too. I didn't know that, of course. I've been the dishwasher, busboy, engineer, very pure. I thought America is that, principle, justice, freedom, equality, all that stuff. That's what we believe in from school, from foreign countries. And to come to America, start see some reality. That's how the inspiration. So that's how, especially in Oakland, taught me so much about the value and the pride and the contribution the African Americans people given to, seriously, and the suffer they had. I saw that. Mm-hmm. People get killed on the street every day almost. I see bodies on the street every day almost. And I got shot, I got chased, all many things. But I learned that this is really, it's one of the great things to have so much, but another thing I had so much opportunity toward American so-called founding father spirit and value system, so-called. Then I learned also to working with corporation. McDonald's is one of the kings in the hill. I feel so proud. Meantime, I also see that too. There's internal discrimination. It's not. It's built in. It's natural. It's not. But that's where when we grew into 14 cities in our organization.
APAPA grew into 14 cities.
The McDonald's from San Francisco, Oakland to Sacramento, 14 cities. They're different. You have very different Hispanic city. Then you have conservative, the Caucasian city. They're very different. They're totally the rural and the extreme metropolitan, the political Sacramento, for instance. The cross. I was learning. I said, well, one thing in common that I think, are success because I can embrace entire city community together for top-down differences, and it works very well. I said, well, that's great then. This America allowed me, as I was very poor student. I'm not a good student. I said, a guy like me, a farmer, engineer, is very stuff, not like Silicon Valley people, very sharp. So I thought this great country. Now that's seriously, and yet every generation looking at history back, they make so much progress toward American spirit, American value. I thought age 65, 20 years ago, when there was only 1 or 2 elect Asians in Sacramento, and people got very nervous. That's the history will repeat itself, like Chinese Exclusive Act, internment, all that. So they get nervous. We all together, we said, let's have foundation 3 generations from us down organized, follow the NAACP and the Jewish model, how to give back to America, how we can invest and earn that respect and decision making.
And so when you started, there were 3 Asian American elected officials. Today, how many are there?
We started we had Mike Honda last year before he went to the DC. We had just Japanese last week. Their 30 years of internment. They all retired that year. Next year supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be 0. Then fortunately, of course, we'll have Telu, Judy Chu coming next year. Mars 2 years, 3 years later. That year people get scared. The Silicon Valley leaders, like a few people them, Sandy Charles, Jim Kong, Kan Fang, they inspired me. Yes.
CC, with the success that you've had, because I know that APAPA has been at the forefront of grooming and elevating people from the AAPI community to get involved in politics and civic life, and it's just exploded and mushroomed. It seems like you've met your moment here, because tell us, how is APAPA playing a role in the current goings on right now related to violence against the AAPI community, but also the missing conversations about how sometimes America makes people from the AAPI community assumes that somehow they don't belong or that they have dual allegiances. What's APAPA doing about that?
You're right. Historically, culturally, that's how caused so-called we don't belong. One is that the American historical, I call systemized or institutionalized racial differences. They try to make it different from power. Whoever had the power and wealth, make all decisions, including women. You know that, right? Historically, and then Hispanics and the Black, everybody else is. And that's one side. Another side is we Asian Chinese. Also, our cultures are more individual, family, and hard work education. We don't invest, we don't pay attention, we don't support, we don't work together to contribute to the community outside our own. We're Chinatown everywhere, a Chinese school everywhere. And we do not pay attention to that, nor we think there's a value to go into politics, because our history told us we touch politics, we get in trouble, we get killed. So that's how. So both sides. Then many people, African American, like I was there, Hispanic think we're competing in jobs, plus we don't care for them. Right. So those to combine makes more challenging.
Right. And in our final moments, CC, what we're all wanting to know is what's next for Apapa in terms of this national conversation that's going on. And we're in our final few moments. So just a few final thoughts.
Okay, the Apapa Fund is to a foundation to empower AP American, especially young generation, have to engage, take leadership, responsibility, ownership in the community, in the government, get elected to make a change. We should do that. That the future looks real bright, very great, especially the pandemics. I call government man-made natural crisis. I don't want to point the names, okay? But as a result, America's always moving forward, left and right. So I don't worry about that. So our responsibility, again, we need a continued, as a non-profit, non-partisan education foundation, we need to continue to build our grassroots, bottom-up, outside 31 chapters in 8 states now, into 50 states, and to grow that foundation, continue to get people involved, especially young generation, get elected and make decisions for good for everybody. Just
All
like
right.
people.
And CC, we're going to have to leave it there. But thank you so much for joining us. And it sounds like that there's much more to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. And that's our show. Thanks to our guest and thanks to you for watching Studio Sacramento. I'm Scott Syphax. See you next time right here on KVIE. All episodes of Studio Sacramento, along with other KVIE programs, are available to watch online at kvie.org/video.